Talking with Rand Siegfried. He is the pilot of the Ford Tri-Motor behind us here, and we just came back from a little buzz around Indianapolis. That was a nice ride. Thank you.
You enjoyed that, did you?
I did. It was very nice.
Yeah.
I thought a surprisingly smooth ride.
This airplane has got enough mass. She rides the air well, and she's also slow enough. She doesn't jar through it. She just kind of flows with it. And so it generally is a pretty good ride.
Tell us about the Ford Tri-Motor. This one in particular, but what you know about the plane, because I have a feeling you know it inside and out.
There you go. The Ford Tri-Motor itself launched airline service with passengers. It back in the day, in the 20s, the revenue model for airlines was mail. So if there was too much mail, they would take paying passengers and bump them off. Henry Ford said, no, that's not going to work. We want something that the airlines or passengers are comfortable with flying. And he said, no, there's a revenue model that says airlines hauling passengers work. And he built this airplane to serve it. It has 3 engines because their perception were engines were unreliable in the 20s. We got 3, which is going to be good. It's all metal. It's not fabric like most of the airplanes were. Again, getting confidence. The inside of the airplane, he scaled and designed like a Pullman car. So it was comfortable. It was what people wanted.
Wide
to
and
feel.
spacious, and there's plenty of headroom in there.
It's a lot nicer ride than an RJ, isn't it? Regional jet?
Yeah.
You got the big windows, you can see outside, and in fact, when you're riding in this airplane, it's a 1929 experience. This is a time machine. It takes you back. It's got the sight out the window's the same, the smells, the sounds, the sights inside are all the same as 1929 air travel. And if you think about it, the alternative was a Model A on a dirt, muddy road going 20 miles an hour if you're good. This was quite a step forward.
Well, this is what you say, 100, 110?
Oh, yeah, they used to cruise at 100, 110 mile an hour. And they tend to do fairly short hops because they were kind of doing the train model, because that's what they flew then.
Right.
They didn't, the thought of going far distances between stops didn't happen. So you tended to stop in all little airports. This particular one started Eastern Airlines, flying out of New Jersey and down along the coast and then back up every day.
Now, the history of this airplane, you know all what it's been and where it's been and
as much as we know, but yes.
Yeah.
It started Eastern Airline. It went from there down to Cuba and flew the inaugural flight for Cubana Airline. And then it went to the Dominican Republic and was the Air Force One, if you would, for the Dominican Republic. It flew the president around. And a lot of them did go to third world countries in the 30s and 40s because it handles really short, rough airports very, very well. So it's a great load hauler out of little airports. It has hauled smoke jumpers out west where they jump on the fires. She has did a crop dusting for a little while, did some rides. She starred in a couple movies, a Jerry Lewis movie, Family Jewels.
You know, when I was in there, I kept hearing this little echo, "Hey, lady."
Excellent. Oh, yeah. I don't think she has any ghosts because we've never heard anybody yet.
Okay.
We've always brought back the same number we left with.
Well, it just recently had a starring role in a movie too, one that's not opened in the theaters. Well,
it'll be coming out July. Yeah, it'll be coming out in July, and it's Johnny Depp in Public Enemy, the John Dillinger story, and it is well featured in there.
What does she do in the movie?
Well, she hauls, I think, Dillinger away after the feds got him.
Oh, okay.
So she plays a good guy role.
Did you fly it in the movie?
No, one of my cohorts flew it. The boss. That's when you get to fly movies, the bosses get that.
Well, let's talk about who the boss is.
Well, this airplane is from the EAA, and it lives up at Pioneer Airport. We have a museum there that is more than just an airplane museum with static displays. We fly airplanes off of a grass runway, and all of the buildings look like they're from the 20s and 30s. So it's an entire feel of vintage aviation, and this airplane is normally there. You're actually pretty lucky here in Indy. We take it out on tour only for a few weeks in the spring or early summer and late summer, and about 12 cities a year get the airplane, and that's it. So it's a real opportunity for Indianapolis.
The EAA is the Experimental Aircraft Association.
Stands for this, originally it's the Experimental Aircraft Association. It's where we have the world's largest air show and fly-in every year up at Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Has EAA just become kind of like the FFA? You don't carry off the rest of the name now, you just carry the initials?
Typically we just do the initials, and it kind of works, and it's shorter, and actually anymore the EAA is about all of any fun aviation. You know, so we're talking about whether it's experimental, whether it's amateur built, home built, but also antiques, warbirds, airplanes like this all fit within the EAA umbrella.
Now Oshkosh is coming up soon?
It is the last week in July, and that's where 10,000 airplanes will descend on the airport. It's the world's busiest airport for that week.
Yeah.
We've got I always camp by my airplane out there, and it's mecca for aviation. It's where aviators come to just absorb it.
Now tell us a little bit about you as a pilot. You didn't start out flying the Ford Trimotor. You started...
My dad taught me how to fly when I was 14. I first soloed, and I've been in an aviation family ever since. And I've got a whole lot of time in something called a Twin Beach, a Beach 18, and it is perfect training for this airplane. If you could fly that airplane well, this one is very comfortable.
How does this compare to the other general aviation aircraft?
You know, she does all the controls right. She does, everything's the same. It's just different forces. The turning, it's a lot heavier. You use a little bit more muscle with it.
Driving a truck?
And a little bit like driving a truck. And the rudder use, if you're a pilot, you kind of understand that. It's the mix of the controls is different. You use a lot more rudder with your ailerons and things. And I like to think of her as more like a grand old lady who is just, she's a little set in her ways. She knows what she wants, and as long as you do what she wants, she does it wonderfully. But if you try to get her to do something she doesn't want to do, she'll fight you. And just fly her like she wants to be flown, and it works perfect.
Now, besides the uniqueness of the three engines, she also has corrugated siding.
Yeah, and that's what everybody thinks of it. They think of it like a barn door roof. That's actually very, very thin aluminum, and this big airplane weighs less than a lot of the smaller twins out here. And that is because the Ford engineers did a wonderful job keeping the structure light. It's obviously very strong based on how long it's lasted and the jobs it's done, between the rough fields and things. It's extremely strong, but the corrugation adds the strength. That aluminum is very, very thin, but obviously with the corrugation it's plenty strong. So it's a very strong, light structure, and that's why.
It kind of generates a little drag, doesn't it?
Well, there was a lot of studies in the 20s and 30s, and it does drag add a little bit, but not much. You notice all the corrugations go along the airflow.
Sure.
So it doesn't add as much as you would think. In fact, not all that much at all at these speeds.
Rand, what's one thing that folks don't know about the Trimotor that you do?
Oh boy. I try to tell everybody everything I know, so certainly don't have any secrets out there. I can tell you this, one thing that most people don't know is how much fun it is to fly, and what a great job I have volunteering flying it, because it is a fantastic airplane.
I asked you before we went on air about how you got this job, and you weren't selected, you asked for it.
Well, yeah, gee whiz. What aviator wouldn't like it? But by the same token, I was a long-term volunteer with the EAA. I've worked with them. I'm a known quantity. You should be a good pilot, and I think all of the people flying the airplane are very good pilots. You need some experience in similar type airplanes, which a lot of pilots don't have that. But you also have to have the right attitude and character. This is an artifact, and we're the custodians of this artifact. It's not something that we own and use. We take care of it, and we have a responsibility for making sure this artifact lives for the next generation and the generation after that. So we're just the custodians at this point in time, and you need that attitude, too, to fly the airplane.
Now, the EAA also has is it a B-17 that flies in tours as well?
Yep, we bring the B-17 out on tours, and then locally we also haul passengers in some different open cockpit biplanes and other airplanes out of Pioneer.
If we've piqued the interest in anyone about the EAA, how do they go about finding you?
Well, the EAA.org is the easiest, and everybody does the internet now, and that's absolutely the first place to go. To fly the Ford, I think we've got the information there, and I would encourage anybody with any thought of aviation to head to Oshkosh the last week of July. Then you'll really know.
All right. Rand, thank you very much. We appreciate the flight, and it was a great ride.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you for riding.
All right. How about that?
Good.
Wasn't that fun?